All right. Well, you're known for your energy as a lawmaker. You're known for your energy as a candidate. You're known to draw big crowds. And now you're making all of that work for you in your new mission with this statewide PAC.
Yes.
And this is to bring energy to some of these Republican candidates in California that may need a little help. So tell us about this mission to make California great again.
So look, it's very simple. You know, I first got involved in politics in 2012 as a California State Assemblyman. And the reason I did is I was born in the state, I was raised in the state, and I love the state. But my entire family's left. And as you have seen, this state of California has slid off the cliff into the left. I mean, look, you take a look at Gavin Newsom and the California Democrats. They want the whole state to look like San Francisco. You're talking about legalized heroin injection sites, rising crime, you know, maps of human waste, open borders, and it just gets worse and worse. So I got involved and I did everything I could on the state stage. But then it became very clear that this is not just about one person. It's not about one race. What this is really about is every single person in California that has been taken for granted by the California Democrats in their quest for more power. So what we really need to do is we need to organize California. We needed to get all of the activists in California, all the normal Californian families that have just had enough. They're being taxed to death, whether it's the new gas tax, you know, among the highest tax in the nation, sales tax, income tax, corporate tax, you name it. The jobs have been leaving California. The companies are leaving California. The laws are getting crazier and crazier. And where's the hope? Where's the salvation? It has got to be in the men and women of California. So we started the Take Back California PAC with a very simple mission: to organize California conservatives to elect more conservatives up and down the state. We're talking statewide races from the governor on down, all the way down to county races, city races, even local water boards. I want to see as many conservative candidates as possible in office in California. And we're here to galvanize every Californian, do everything that you can to get involved in these local races so we can win in November.
And throughout your time here, we're going to be flashing your the website for the PAC up on the screen to make sure they know. So you ran a hard campaign against the current gubernatorial candidate in California, the Republican John Cox. You ran a very hard campaign. He is now battling to take over one of the most crucial governor seats in all of America. Now, the day after he won, back on June 6th, he came here and he said that the new California dream, and you know all about this, you've mentioned it, the new California dream is moving out of the state. Take a listen.
I'm running for governor of California because the people of this state have been beaten into poverty by Gavin Newsom and the Democrats. We're the highest tax state in the country, the most unaffordable, the worst business climate. The gas tax has made Californians question whether they can even survive in this state. The California dream has become dreaming about moving to Texas.
All right, let's talk about the businessman and current candidate for Governor, John Cox. What help does he need right now?
What John needs is he needs everybody in California to get behind him. He needs every single conservative to say, look, you know what, let's put our differences behind us. In the end of the day, you have two choices. It's between Gavin Newsom and the far, far left. You're talking somebody that's further left than Bernie Sanders. I mean, this guy wants universal health care. He wants open borders. He wants legalized heroin injection centers. This is to mention nothing of, you know, soft on crime laws and getting rid of bail in California. Basically, every bad idea of the California Democrats, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, you roll all that into one, and that's Gavin Newsom. Then you have John Cox. John Cox, businessman, originally from Chicago, now in California, trying to do everything he can to make California at least a balanced state. This is very, very simple. If you live in California, if you want to stay in California, if you want your family to be raised here and actually be safe, to have strong borders, we must elect a Republican. You have to get behind John Cox. I've already endorsed him, you know, months ago, as you well know. Yeah. And I've told all my supporters, look, you know, the primary was hard fought. But in the end of the day, what this is about is coalescing behind the ideas that we know that are true, that we know that are right. Respect for the U.S. Constitution, respect for the law, making sure that we actually have, you know, fair taxes, a great business climate, and strong borders. There's only one guy in the race right now for governor, and that's John Cox. So it's very clear that everybody in California, unless you want 4 years of Gavin Newsom, you better get off your couch, you better get active, and do everything that you can. You know, make your phone calls, Go canvass your neighborhoods. This is what the Taking Back California PAC is all about. It's to try to organize every single conservative in California to start at the beginning, start at the top of the ticket to the governor, go on down to the Secretary of State and the Attorney General. Let's throw out Javier Becerra. Let's repeal the gas tax. Let's start getting Republicans elected. So you take a look at a guy like John Cox. What he needs is to get his face out there in front of Californians at every single opportunity and highlight the failings of Gavin Newsom and the California Democrats.
And you know, you lost in the primary, but you did draw big crowds, big energetic crowds. We've been showing a picture. It's a great picture, and I think it's the logo of your PAC. I mean, it's you addressing a large crowd. Do you expect John Cox to take advantage of some of that Travis Allen energy? I mean, what can be done at this point? Do you team up?
Look, you know, we would hope to. We've actually already reached out. We've offered. So I am doing a tour of 8 stops up and down the state of California. We started up in Sacramento. We're coming all the way down to San Diego, through the Central Valley, through Los Angeles, the Inland Empire, and Orange County. Because what we're trying to do is we're trying to galvanize all of our 50,000 volunteers that were so involved in that primary campaign and say, look, the fight's not over. The fight is in November. It's right now in front of you. So yeah, we've absolutely reached out to Cox and all of the other statewide electeds and campaigners, candidates, and said, come to our events. You know, go to our Facebook and join Travis Allen. You'll see them all right there up on the events page. But come to our events. Take our volunteers, use our volunteers, put them to work, get them in your phone banks, get them in your canvassing group. I want to see every single neighborhood in California networked. Think about this. When Obama left office, he started something called Organizing for America. They have something like 40,000 paid people throughout the country now that are organizing their local communities for Democrats and the worst ideas you've ever heard. This is what we need to fight against. We need a core in California that believes in conservative values, that understands the rule of law, and understands that if we don't unite and organize as Republicans, as conservatives, there'll be no hope for the state, which is exactly why we have to fight.
Well, and it's like we've done this before, because you just segued right into my next question. and it's because new today, President Obama announced that he's coming to California to hit the campaign trail hard. He's going to be helping out 7 Democrat candidates in California. What's your response to that, and what does that tell you about what's happening?
Well, this tells you that the Democrats believe that the road to Congress comes directly through California. You know, they got these seats like the ISA seat, which I pray to God that our great friend Diane Harkey can take that seat, because she should take that seat. But then you take a look at Valadeo and Denham and, you know, all of these other seats through the valley. These are the seats that we absolutely must keep. Ed Royce in Orange County, Dana Rohrabacher in Orange County. These are seats that are also up. We got to make sure that they stay in Republican hands. And by the way, you know, Dana Rohrabacher is a good surfing buddy of mine. That's right. And he's also in my local town of Huntington Beach. So it's so important that if you live in California and you value the state, you got to understand the Democrats are bringing out the big guns. We have to organize. We have to fight. It's not enough just to talk on social media. It's not enough just to talk to your friends. It's not enough just to show up at a rally. You got to get out there and you got to canvass. You got to become a neighborhood captain. You got to start a phone bank. You got to help these candidates by fundraising for them and do everything that you can. And that's why we started Take Back California. So every town and every region we go to, we're bringing in all of the volunteers and we're matching them together with all of the conservative candidates up and down the ticket to say, look, these are volunteers, they're conservative, they're ready to work, they're ready to fight. Put them into action. Let's organize California. Let's show the Democrats that they might have all of their East Coast money. They might have George Soros on their side. But the bottom line is Californians are sick and tired of Nancy Pelosi and the mafia machine that has been running the state out of San Francisco. We take a look at the presidency, we see the White House, and we see a guy who is willing to stand up and fight. And that's what we all got to do here in California. All
right, let's get into some nitty gritty here. When you're up, you're at these events, these events that are coming up with your PAC, and you're up on the stump, and you're staring down a voter who's undecided, who could go the way of the Republican, a Californian who may have voted Democrat in the past. What is going through their mind right now? What are those issues that that should be the most pressing, that you feel might be the most pressing, because the cost of being a Californian, just existing as a Californian, is going up?
Absolutely. Look, you know, it really depends on the person, but the issues are always the same. Number one, it's border security. You know, it's knowing that we actually have a state, and this is a privilege to be here. It is not a right. So we need to have strong borders, And from that flows everything else. It flows the rule of law. You know, these laws the Democrats just passed in California over this last term, things like anybody can say that they're mentally ill and get off of essentially any crime in the state of California. They passed laws saying that 14 and 15-year-olds that are guilty of murder or rape can no longer be tried as adults. And if you're 12 or younger, you can't even be tried for a crime in California underneath these new laws they're trying to put through Jerry Brown's desk. So this goes far beyond border security and respect for the rule of law. This comes down to the personal safety for you and your family. And keep in mind, that has nothing to do with the exploding homelessness in California. I mean, that's a whole different issue that the Democrats are entirely responsible for with their failed welfare state that costs all of us so much money. So as you know, we got Prop 6 on the ballot right now. This is the repeal of the gas tax. I was the original author of the repeal of the gas tax. This, yet again, only increases the cost of living in California. So ask yourself, what do you get in a state where you have among the highest taxes in the nation, no respect for the rule of law, open borders, exploding homelessness, and now legalized heroin injection sites, and killers getting off the hook? You are going to have a perfect storm of the Democrats making in California, and this is why we got to fight.
And you may have just answered my question. Do you agree that in this, do issues get even larger in scale when you're looking at possibly swinging the pendulum of power from blue to red? These issues take on an even larger existence. You mentioned Prop 6, there's Prop 10, there's rent control.
Yep.
There's a number of issues that, again, are making it just more expensive for people to exist in California.
And you know, it goes far beyond even just rent control, but that's a huge one. It's Prop 10 on the ballot. We got to make sure that we stop rent control in California. Essentially, if you have rent control in an area, your whole area is going to go down because none of the landlords have any intention or any incentive to improve their properties. They can't charge any higher rents, so why would they improve their buildings? So you're going to get, you know, urban squalor, and you're going to get neighborhoods that start to get worse and worse. You already have exploding homelessness. Now you got drugs on the sidewalk, and you're going to get run-down buildings. I mean, you take a look at it, none of this makes any sense. And I would tell you right now, very simply, this is the Democrats' downfall. In California, it is their arrogance. It is the pure arrogance of the Democrat Party. A moment ago, you asked, what's going to make, you know, a middle-of-the-road Californian vote Republican? What's going to make your neighbor, who doesn't care about politics at all, vote for a Republican candidate? They might not even like the president. You're going to say to them very simply, look, every time you got to go to work, you see homelessness. Your kids are now unsafe when they're walking to school. In San Francisco, the kids got to walk through hypodermic needles on the sidewalk just to go to school. Now we are no longer safe because criminals are getting out of jail early, sexual predators are being let out of jail early, and people aren't even getting charged with crimes in the first place. You add on that these open border policies, high taxes. On the ballot right now in November, $16 billion of new bonds. That's new indebtedness for the state of California. It just layers one on top of the other. Personal safety, respect for the law, strong borders, increased cost, increased taxes, indebtedness for future generations. Yeah, I got to tell you, Pat, I take a look at this and I smile because I say, how arrogant, how foolish can Jerry Brown, Nancy Pelosi, Kamala Harris, Gavin Newsom, the California Democrats be? It is really as if they are serving up the perfect meal for Republicans, because every single thing that's on that plate is something that you or I don't want.
All right, and I want to touch back on the importance of this PAC that you've set up, because if you didn't have the grassroots and the groundwork happening, and say the Dems were to run the table in California, the ramifications on a national level, California has always played a big role on a national level, but the ramifications in D.C. as they try to hold on to that House majority could be major. And there might be some in D.C. that are worried about that.
And I think they're rightly so, they're worried. I think Kevin McCarthy has a lot to be concerned about in California. You know, he's looking at multiple seats in the congressional, in his 14 congressional seats that are at risk in California. This is why no one can rest. I mean, this is why if you're a conservative in California, you have plenty to be concerned about. It's not just your local level, it's not just your state level. The Democrats have made California target number one to break Republican control of Congress. And I got to tell you, unless we all get active, unless we all start fighting and organize together as a concerted effort, as conservatives, as Republicans, ex-President Obama and Hillary Clinton and all the rest of them, they will be smiling in California. if we sit on our couch. That's why after the election, I dusted myself off. I said, you know what, look, this is not about one person. This is not about one race. This is about every single one of the 40 million Californians knowing that if we don't save California, it's not just California we'll lose, it's also control of Congress and all of Trump's agenda. And we already know this agenda has led us to the lowest unemployment we've seen in decades, an 18-year high in consumer confidence, stock market that's exploding, and truly making America the greatest country in the world yet again. This is what's at risk, and it's all right here in California, which is why it's so imperative that we act today.
And I know that the PAC that you've set up is a statewide PAC and does not necessarily deal one-to-one with some of the federal candidates, but you did mention a few minutes ago, and I want to touch back on just a few, namely Duncan Hunter Jr., Rohrabacher, these older incumbents that have been in D.C. for a while, and I mention that is because you have some newer folks that are trying to make their way in who are in that, they made it through the jungle primary, they're fighting. But some of these folks that are in D.C., the mainstream media is very focused on them right now. Democrats are very focused on them right now, those two. How do your thoughts on staying the course as a candidate in California with some of the laser focus that's on those two guys, Rohrabacher, Duncan Hunter?
Look, you take a look at both these guys. Obviously we know Hunter's got some serious issues with the campaign finance. As it appears, this was largely unknown to him, and many of these were potentially mistakes of omission. But the bottom line is this is bigger than just Duncan Hunter. It's bigger than just Dana Rohrabacher. It's bigger than any one individual race. This is about the future of the United States. What these candidates and congressionals have to say is very simple. This is not about me. It's not about what's happened. It is about the future of the United States. And it is absolutely imperative that these guys fight as hard as they can for everything that we know that is good and right in the United States and going in the right direction. So, the mainstream media is going to try to spin absolutely everything they can. Why are all these investigations coming out right now? Why are we hearing these things right before the election cycle? Well, it's very clear. The mainstream media is trying to tip the scales, just like they did in the presidential race. It didn't work then, and it's not going to work now. But it's going to take not just the activists, not just the ordinary Californians. It's going to take those figureheads, the congressional candidates, whether they're in office or aspiring to be in office. These guys have to fight as hard as they can, because they got to remember that everything is stacked against them. But the prize is the future of this country. The prize is 2 more years of the first 4 of our good President Donald Trump. And then past that is the re-election. If you think about it this way, if we get 6 more years of Donald Trump, we've only had 2. We have the lowest unemployment on record for African Americans, Latinos, women, the lowest unemployment in decades. That's only after 2 years. Imagine what 6 more look like. But we only get that if we all work as hard as we can.
All right, one last one, Travis. Diane Harkey in the 49th, Paul Cook in the 8th District, both of them with recent endorsements from President Trump, which could play huge. But I want to finish on one very interesting candidate. Out of the 39th District, that's just east of Los Angeles, as you know. Young Kim, and I don't know if you spent much time with her, but she's running and could become the first Korean-American woman to be elected to Congress. Talk about the weight of that, especially, a lot of folks are trying to create a red wave in California, but that one particular race could mean a lot for the Republican Party in California.
I think it does. I think it does. Young Kim actually used to be my seatmate in the California legislature. I can tell you firsthand, she's an incredible woman. She's absolutely dedicated to making sure that this is the greatest country in the world. I mean, she totally knows exactly what's cut out for her. Electing young Kim to the U.S. Congress is incredible for the congressionals. It's incredible for the Republican Party, because very simply, it says that Republicans, it doesn't matter who you are, it doesn't matter where you're from. It is about having the right ideas. It's about the best candidates with the ideas that make the most sense for this country. When young Kim wins, and I'll tell you right now, I'm just going to call offense for her, young Kim is going to win in November. And when she does, it's going to be historic. First woman, Korean, Republican Congresswoman right here out of Orange County, right here in Reagan country. This is going to be a major milestone for the Republicans, not just in California, but around the nation. And it goes directly against the narrative of the Democrats when they try to say that they're the party of diversity and, X, Y, and Z. We all know that that's simply not true. We know that good ideas don't see color, they don't see gender, they don't see any of this stuff. And I'll tell you right now, young Kim is as good as they get, and you better believe I'll be right behind her if she wins in November.
All right, we've come full circle. Lastly, we're 2 months out, just about exactly 2 months out from the general election. Still a lot of time. Tell our viewers, and again, we're going to put this website up on the screen for you. Tell them and tell us how they can get involved with your PAC.
Very simply, go to jointravisallen.com, or if you're on Facebook, go to Join Travis Allen. You'll find all of the events there. You'll find everything that we're doing, all the cities that we're showing up. We have all of our volunteer networks, our state leaders, our regional leaders, our city leaders, and our county leaders. Get active, get engaged. From the Take Back California PAC, we are sending volunteers to every major conservative race in California. We have an open door policy. If you're a conservative candidate in California, pick up the phone, call our volunteer leaders, and get them in your local cities and get them to volunteer for your campaign. Because I'll tell you right now, Patrick, we will take back California, but it's going to be taken back one city, one region, one state at a time. This is our state. It belongs to us. It's about time we take it back.
All right, Travis Allen, as always, thank you so much for your time.
Want to see more videos like this? Click on the link below and subscribe to One America News on YouTube. And call your cable provider and kindly demand that One America News is added to your lineup. Call and subscribe today.